Are you thinking of moving to Atlanta, Georgia? Well, don't miss this video. These are the top 5 pros and cons of moving to Atlanta, Georgia. And that's coming up right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to Living in Atlanta. If this is your first time visiting my channel, then welcome. My name is Mark and I make videos about what it's like to live in Atlanta, Georgia. So today we're going to be taking an honest look at the pros and cons of moving to the Atlanta, Georgia area. Now I've personally lived here since around 2008, so going on 14 years in Atlanta. There are definitely a lot of things I love about living here and some other things not so much. So let's get into it. Hey, before we get into my top 5, I just want you to know, in addition to a YouTube channel, we are a full service real estate team, the Living in Atlanta team. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home in the Atlanta area, I want you to book a Zoom call with me. You can click the link in the description below. You can call me, email me, whatever you want to do, but we would love to talk with you. All right, so let's get into my top 5 pros and cons of moving to Atlanta, Georgia. Now let's start with a con so that we can end on a positive note. And I am going to try to keep these a little bit more brief than usual because I have a tendency to talk a lot. All right, so the first con that I have of moving to Atlanta, Georgia, this is not in any particular order, but it is public schools. Okay, unfortunately, especially inside the perimeter, the public schools are not great. Now, there are good public school districts and there are counties with lots of good public school districts in Georgia. Specifically, you want to look out for counties like Cobb County, Gwinnett County, Forsyth County, and Beaufort County. But if you need to be in the city, if you have a family, but you want to be close to Atlanta, either for work or for your lifestyle, the reality is you have limited options in terms of quality public schools. I've said before, one of the only main areas inside the perimeter for very high quality public schools is the city of Decatur, which is a beautiful place. I have a whole video on it, but it does get very pricey. You're going to need probably in the $600,000 to $700,000 range for a detached option in the city of Decatur. So this does create a situation where if you have a family and public schools are really important, you may be needing to look outside of the city. Obviously, there's a lot of competition for that reason in those areas. But unfortunately, for the people who have a family where schools are important, but they want to be very close to the city, either for work or for their lifestyle, there are not a lot of good options for that type of person. Now, one thing to note here is that our private school options, I've gotten feedback, are actually quite affordable in comparison to a lot of other cities of a similar size. So you may be thinking you're priced at a private school. That might not be the option. We have other options like charter schools, which you can be a part of depending on the exact location that you live in. So there are other options that you can pursue. And I'm not saying there's no good public schools in Georgia. I'm just saying the combination of being in the city with good quality public schools is hard to find. If public schools is your number one criteria, you're going to be looking a little further out of the city. And unfortunately, if you're looking for good public schools and you have a much lower budget, you're going to be further and further away from Atlanta. All right, the first pro that I have is the weather. This is one of the things that has grown on me more than any other thing. It is a very mild climate, yet we have 4 distinct seasons. I found that a very nice, unique combination. It's not like Southern California where it's 70 degrees and sunny every day. We do have 4 distinct seasons, but it's nice and mild. Yes, the summers are long and they can be very humid and extremely hot and brutal. So if humidity really bothers you, you do want to keep that in mind. But spring and fall are absolutely gorgeous with mild temperatures, a lot of sunshine, and it's just very beautiful during that time of year. Winter, we do have winter. It is short and rainy and kind of cold, rarely gets below freezing, very, very rarely snows at all. So if you absolutely can't do humidity, Atlanta might not be the place for you. But personally, I find it's nearly a perfect balance of having 4 distinct seasons while still being generally a very mild climate. All right, my number 2 con on the list today, I have humidity bugs, and allergies. So I'm combining some smaller items to put together for you to consider, but we do have a mild climate, but like I said, the summers are brutal. There is a lot of humidity that you have to deal with at its peak. And additionally, we have bugs. It's a humid climate. We have mosquitoes, a lot of mosquitoes everywhere. They love me. Some people they completely ignore, but this can be an issue and you may need to treat your home or the area around your apartment for that. We also have cockroaches. I've mentioned that before. Palmetto bugs, whatever you want to call them. Does not matter how clean your house is, they just get in sometimes. So you will see the occasional cockroach or palmetto bug. It does not necessarily mean your home is especially dirty. And there are ways to mitigate this, but what I'm saying is that pest control may be more important in our area than where you're currently coming from. And the last piece of this is allergies. If you're especially sensitive to pollen, well, we absolutely set records for pollen counts at some points throughout the year. It can get very high. There's a certain part of the year where you'll walk outside and you'll have a thin layer of pollen covering your entire car. So it's tough if you have extreme allergies. So just keep that in mind. All right, so my second pro of moving to Atlanta, Georgia is the economy. Atlanta has a very robust and diverse economy, which makes it a fantastic place not only to start your career, but also to invest in real estate. In fact, the Atlanta Metro is often named as one of the best places to start or further your career in the entire country. And I've mentioned this in multiple videos, but in terms of major companies being headquartered here, we have 16 companies in the Fortune 500 that are headquartered in Atlanta. And there are 29 companies overall in the Fortune 1000 that are headquartered in Atlanta. These are companies like Coke, Delta, Chick-fil-A, UPS, Home Depot, the Southern Company. So these are some big heavy hitters. And the economy is very diverse. We're not beholden to one type of industry. We have large sectors for education, tech, manufacturing, transportation, finance, healthcare, and so much more. So if you need a fresh start in your career, maybe you're looking to change companies or switch careers, you'd be hard pressed to find a better place to do that than the Atlanta, Georgia area. There is a lot of opportunity in this city to start or further your career. And like I said, this is also very good if you're a real estate investor because you want a diverse economy so that if something changes, you don't have a major shift in employment for the area. So this is also an important factor to consider for real estate investors. All right, number 3 on my cons list, I have traffic and aggressive drivers. I mentioned this on a previous video recently, but Atlanta is known for having bad traffic, and it's true. We have really bad traffic here. It's not quite as bad as LA or DC, but we are a sprawling city. We are not dense, and so almost everyone owns a car, which really contributes to that problem, and our public transportation is not great. Rush hour can be as long as 7:30 in the afternoon to 7 o'clock at night, and honestly, at any given time of the day, driving on the highway, you might run into a major jam, either from just congestion or some type of major accident or multiple accidents. The downtown connector, the Grady curve, Spaghetti Junction, there are a lot of massive pain points on people's commutes around the city here. And the other thing is the drivers are increasingly more aggressive, driving extremely fast, tailgating, and just driving recklessly. There are a lot of accidents and there's a lot of debris on the highways that I've noticed in my time living here, more so than maybe any other city that I've lived in. So the reality is, if you move to Atlanta, you are gonna be dealing with some bad traffic and aggressive drivers. All right, my number 3 pro of moving to Atlanta is the cost of living. Now, to be honest with you, this has changed very dramatically in the last few years as prices, home prices in particular, has gone up. Obviously, we're dealing with significant inflation across the country right now, but the reality is, if you're coming here from many other similar sized cities or larger cities, you're still gonna see a major improvement in terms of your cost of living. If you're coming from Chicago, LA, New York, San Francisco, Seattle, generally speaking, your cost of living is going to go down significantly moving to Atlanta, Georgia. So in my mind, it is still a big pro of moving here. For instance, although the market is red hot right now, you can still live inside the perimeter in an area that's fairly safe and has lots of things to do for under $300,000. depending on the size you need. And if you are needing to live in a suburb with higher quality public schools that's more safe because you have a family, you can still do that outside the perimeter and not be too crazy in the country for under $400,000. Additionally, property taxes here are comparatively very low. I know mine have been under $2,000 a year for many years. That's partly because I bought in a developing area, but generally speaking, I would say the average range I see for clients that I work with is about $2,000 to $5,000 a year in property taxes. And although the rental market is as crazy as the home buying market, you can still rent out an entire house for under $2,000 in many areas of the city. Also, because we don't have some of the more intense restrictions and tax regulations, environmental regulations, we don't get the massive gas price hikes that you'll see in a California or New York. So depending on where you're coming from, moving to Atlanta could represent a major improvement in your cost of living. All right, my number 4 is sprawl and public transportation. Okay, this relates to the issue of bad traffic. So for those of you who have not spent much time in Atlanta, okay, we are not a highly dense, walkable city. We are sprawled out. Because of that, almost everyone owns a car. Generally speaking, in Atlanta, especially before the Beltline, you drive to an area, spend some time there, walk around, and if you want to go do something else, you drive to another area. You really can't do hours and hours of walking like you might be able to do in New York City. Now, the Beltline has gone a long way to improving this. It's one of my favorite developments in the city. But the reality is it's still very hard to get by here day to day without owning a car. This is added to by the fact that our public transportation is not very robust, at least as it relates to heavy rail. We do have a very robust bus system for people who need to go that route, but I would say you'd be hard pressed to get by just on the heavy rail. I've explained before, it's very limited, operating north, south, and east, west. There's only 4 lines. So if you live near one of those stations and where you commute to is near one of those stations, you certainly can save a lot on gas. And I think it's a great thing to utilize, but it's not at the level of another major city where you can use the subway to get anywhere you need to go. And unfortunately, MARTA, the public transportation in Atlanta, really seems to be handicapped by the surrounding areas that do not want to contribute and invest in the expansion of heavy rail, quite frankly, because they don't want people from the city going out to those areas. So very unfortunate and short-sighted in my opinion. Hopefully we can improve the public transit in Atlanta. Hopefully we can change the zoning laws to allow more density and improve the public transportation so that we can be less reliant on cars and create a more walkable, dense city. But right now, I have to list a con: the sprawl and public transportation of Atlanta. All right, my number 4 pro of moving to Atlanta is the nature. And personally, this is my favorite thing about living here. If you're a nature person at all, you should definitely consider moving to the Atlanta, Georgia area. We're known as a city in a forest. It's extremely green here. I always laugh because some people from out of state say, I want a home where trees are nearby. And I tell them that will not be hard to do. There are trees everywhere, green spaces everywhere. There are plenty of parks. There are more parks in Atlanta than I could ever go to, from very large ones like Westside Park and Piedmont Park to very tiny parks that I have still never even heard of or have just driven by. If you like hiking, there are plenty of mountains close to the city that you can go on amazing hikes on. I'm personally a big fan of rivers and kayaking. There are tons of beautiful rivers all throughout the state, in addition to lakes. In North Georgia especially, you have some incredible nature. The North Georgia mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains, there's vineyards in North Georgia. So when you live in this area, you can take easy nature trips. It doesn't need to take a whole day to go on a quick hike or even get in the water. Okay, you can enjoy nature from very close to home, almost no matter where you are. And it's just generally a very beautiful setting to live in. Having trees all around your home, although that can be dangerous sometimes, it makes for a very beautiful setting. It's always gorgeous to drive, even around in the city, but of course outside of it as well. So I think we take it for granted a little bit, living here, not really noticing it. But when I get the comments from people that we help move here from out of state, They absolutely love the green spaces. So if you're interested in nature in any way, then this is definitely a huge pro of moving here. All right, the last con I have on my list for moving to Atlanta is gun violence. Okay, I mentioned this in a recent video. Again, I'm not trying to get controversial or political in any way, but I can say personally, my least favorite thing about living in the Atlanta, Georgia area is just the prevalence of guns and gun violence. Crime has spiked here, especially during COVID, as it has in many other cities across the country. We have a new mayor. I'm hopeful about that new mayor. Hopefully he can address this in a more direct way. But the reality is, we get lots of stories of tragic incidences of people losing their life to stray bullets, people doing shootings on the highway, shootings at Lenox Mall, or, businesses being robbed in all kinds of different areas. So that's my least favorite thing of living here. I have not personally been involved in any violent crime during my time living here, but I certainly have friends and acquaintances who have. It's not a scary place to live. I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm also not saying, you should ban guns or that I have all the answers to these problems. I believe in responsible gun ownership, but unfortunately we have a governor, Brian Kemp, who just proposed that you don't need any license to public carry a gun in the state of Georgia, which I just think is a step in completely the wrong direction. All right, the last pro that I have of moving to Atlanta, this is a little different from maybe what I've said in the past, is real estate investing. Now, maybe you're really excited about real estate investing. Maybe you've never even considered it. But if you're purchasing a home, that is an investment. And Atlanta is one of the best places to own real estate for a lot of the reasons that I already mentioned. Okay, relatively low cost of living, mild climate, extremely diverse economy, a strong economy, very strong increase in population growth. So these are all the factors that real estate investors look for before they create a portfolio in a given area. So if you have some plans and ideas of getting into real estate investing, this can be a great place to start or continue that. For the average person, if you're looking to just buy a home, you can feel confident knowing that even in a hot market like this, where prices have risen very sharply in the last year or two, it's a great investment. A home is going to continue to appreciate. When you go to sell it, you're likely to make a great profit. Another factor for why Atlanta is so great for real estate investing, the rental demand is absolutely off the hook. So vacancy is very low, which is something that investors look for. So Atlanta's just a great long-term bet, okay? Is our growth always going to spike like it is right now? No, but long-term, I think we have some incredible foundations for a city that's going to continue to grow and improve for all the reasons that I just mentioned. So if the nature and cost of living wasn't good enough, it's a great place to invest, especially in real estate. All right, so there you have it, my top 5 pros and cons of moving to Atlanta, Georgia. I know I've talked about some of these things before. I like to refresh these videos because things change rapidly. I like to refresh these videos and cover the same topics for new viewers, and because things change very rapidly. So I hope that provided you some value, some information. I hope it helps you wherever you are in your journey. Please like and subscribe to my channel. It's a huge way to help me for free. And like I said, we make these videos so that you reach out. So if you're looking to buy or sell in the Atlanta, Georgia area, please book a Zoom call with me today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.